Hey Robin, how's it going?
Hey Dana, this is Robin Driscoll. We are the Oboe Doctors here talking today about tube cane.
Wait, I didn't say my name yet.
Oh, okay. Let's start again.
Okay.
Okay, so you start first. Go.
Hey everybody, I'm Dana Sundet.
And I'm Robin Driscoll.
We
And
are the Oboe Doctors.
Oboe Doctors.
Yes. It's great to talk to you. How are you this morning, Robin?
Oh, doing very good. Little storm starting outside, but it's pretty good though.
Oh my goodness. Well, we're going to talk about how to organize and age our cane. So don't bring your storm here because I have my cane that I've put in these little international coffee containers, and I have it like up in a big Jenga tower.
Oh, that's nice.
So today we're going to talk about how we organize our oboe and maybe even English horn tube cane. So if you were to guesstimate, because I didn't give you the questions before this interview, but how many types of oboe cane do you estimate that you currently have in your storage?
Okay, well, I have something what I call the wall of cane. Because I found that I used to keep it all my cane in little baggies, and I would have them buried in a big pile, and I would never know exactly what I had. So I fashioned this rack, which we're going to show you, that has my cane hanging in baggies on the wall, so you can actually see each one. And currently, looking at my wall of cane now, I see probably maybe 20 different bags of cane, which would probably be, each one is a specific order. It could be from a different supplier, it could be a different year from the same supplier, but it keeps it segregated that way in tube cane form.
That's
about 20, yeah.
About
20 or so.
20. Oh man, I feel very, very greedy then because, well, what I do is when I get it in the mail, I'll put it in a big plastic storage bin like I have right here. And then I will further process it down into a pre-gouged state, and then I will keep it in these little tiny tool drawer trays that you see down here, or I will put them in the international coffee containers. And when I counted today, I think I have 60 different kinds of cane.
Wow, that's really good. That's very efficient too. It makes it easier to begin working because a lot of the sorting work has been done, and it makes it a lot more convenient to make reeds that way, I think.
Yeah, I found that if I did some of the preliminary work to chop it and to sort it, I could count almost how many pieces of cane that I would get per pound. And then I found that it aged a little bit quicker when it was processed further. Do you find that?
Oh, sure, yeah, because there's less distance for anything to come out of the vascular bundles. The cells they're shorter lengths because they've been chopped up and planed down, and it's easier for any moisture in the cane to vacate and as it dries and ages.
So when you order cane, do you just order random names of cane from these companies, or do you ask around for recommendations?
Well, I'll check around to see what people are using, and then I'll try to order some. That's usually a pretty good way to do things. People who you respect and have tried some new cane, you can ask them the typical question you always hear about when you have tuba players get together. What's the first thing that one person asks the other is, "What cane are you using now?" And so you can get a lot of information that way, actually. But there tends to be certain suppliers which are more consistent than others. Like when I was in college, we used to always get big bags of Alio cane from France, and you could bet that it'd be pretty good. But there were certain years, that other sources were better. But yeah, I generally would order cane from distributors here in the country, but sometimes I would order larger, like kilos of cane from the actual cane fields in France. But it's not quite as easy to do as ordering it by mail order here in the country.
So when cane arrives in the mail, do you split the order with friends or students, or do you process it all yourself?
Well, generally, it's because since I'm working on a lot of gouging machines, I go through a lot of cane in that respect, and so I'll use a lot of cane just there alone. But when I was in school, though, we used to split it between friends. Like where I lived in Cleveland, we had 3 oboe players living in our house, and we would always do a big order, and then we would lay all the cane out on the floor and go through and divide the whole thing into 3, and that was always kind of fun. Um, but generally, I order like 1 or 2 pounds just to keep it myself, and use it for things.
Yeah, I usually split it with all my students. It kind of makes it fun to use the same kinds of cane so that, because you know how cane will respond differently to the knife. And then if I know
Right.
what they're using, then I can pretty much help them quickly because I know, oh, this kind of cane needs this kind of technique.
Yeah, and plus also in that case, it's nice because if all of you are having the same problem with the cane, you'll realize that it's not necessarily your gouging machine or your knives or your staples that aren't working. If everyone has the same problem, then it's probably the cane is a source of elimination.
Oh, good point. So you're saying, let me just repeat, you're saying that you store your cane in tube cane. Do you process it down any further at all?
No, I generally keep it in tube cane form until I use it, and that's mainly because I don't if it this way I can choose the diameter that I want to use specifically for that set of making reads I'm going to be doing. If I process all of it earlier, and I process it all to where I just cut out 10.25 millimeter diameter cane, that's all I'm going to have. But if I still have it in tube form, I have a choice of going bigger or smaller for or any reason I might want to at that time. And I tend to with my reads, I'll go from tube cane to read pretty much in a sitting. I don't really do it in steps. I know a lot of people break it up into different segments. So in my case, it doesn't matter too much. It just adds another few minutes of chopping up the cane for me in the beginning.
So I'm going to show our listeners right now, when I was looking for our cane and organizing the session, I opened a bag of cane and I was really bummed out because it had worms in it. And I want to show our listeners what it looks like because it's got little streaks in the cane.
Yeah, little sawdust trails.
Yeah, sawdust trails, and it'll just break down and go into sawdust. That's really quite terrible. So tell me.
Yeah, you can squeeze it. Yeah.
Right. Tell me what you do when.
Well, it's interesting because worms. It's funny how worms tend to like good cane, so it's good to get those worms out as soon as possible because they're going to go get your best pieces. They taste better, I think. But what I do normally, I have a deep freeze here in the shop where I'll take a bag of cane and I will actually put it in the bags and I'll put it in the deep freeze overnight. And what that will do, hopefully, and it seems to have worked so far, is it will kill any larvae that are in, that are still in the cane that haven't progressed too far into it, and that stops it. The ones I've done that with have so far have had no worms in it, so which is good. But that's a natural thing to have in cane, and they'll spread from batch to batch. So if you keep your cane kind of stored but not really separated like in plastic bags that are sealed up, worms can travel from one bit of cane to another batch if they're open, like in a drawer, just with dividers in between it.
Yeah.
So you do want to separate your cane, keep it in quarantine,
Yeah.
so that so that you don't have all your different batches of cane infected. But freezing does seem to work,
Yeah,
So that's
I
a bit,
agree.
not just overnight, just they can't survive in those temperatures.
I agree. I just throw it on the back porch when it's cold.
Yeah, that's right. That's the same thing. That's right.
So, how far, if a student is processing down their cane, how far would you recommend processing it down before, how the cane kind of gets drier over time?
Yes.
And then it turns like a yellow, and then it probably gets like to the point where it would be crack volatile. How far would you
Yeah.
recommend processing it down, especially like for students that maybe don't own their own gouging machine, so they're using the school gouger?
Right. Well, I think the first thing you want to do, at school, if you're in a school machine and you're storing your cane, let's say in the read room of your school, it's nicer to have your cane maybe processed down more so it takes up less space. You don't have to sit there and take up big boxes of cane all around the read room. But yeah, like I said, I don't process it too much because I do not want to have it age too fast. But probably we'll split the cane up first, then we'll cut it to length, and then we'll either take a planing board or a filier and cut it down to the flatness that you put into a gouge machine. And so you could leave, I don't know, maybe you could have 20 or 30 pieces like that always at hand. And then as you use some cane, maybe resupply that to be 30 pieces again, So this way, if you have a big marathon read session to do, let's say for a concert you have some weekend, you have 30 pieces of cane that are ready to go, But I do like to have it, I do like to not process things too much to the can at one time, because suppose something is not working well, then I don't notice it first, and I end up ruining a whole lot of cane, It's like, for example, I won't gouge like 100 pieces of cane. I've seen people, say, oh, I want to gouge all my cane this weekend. I pretty much gouge a piece of cane as I'm making a read on it. And so I'll gouge a piece of cane, make a read. I'm not going to gouge 80 pieces of cane. For the reason is, if something is wrong with the gouger and I discover that, then 80 pieces of cane are wasted.
Exactly.
I remember Joseph Robinson once went on a Piedmont Chamber Orchestra tour when he was teaching out at the North Carolina School of the Arts. And he had a little piece of beeswax on his micrometer, just a little film layer up there. And so he was measuring his cane, and as he was gouging it, he had to modify things because it came out too thick because of the wax was there. So he gouged all this cane, and then he went on tour, and all the reeds he was playing on, which were measuring 60 back home, when he remeasured them after he had cleaned the anvil of his micrometer off, had all the pieces of cane were like 56 millimeters or 0.56 millimeters thick. And all that cane that he took for the tour, that's all he had, And so that's the risk. So if something is not working well, you want to find it early and not have wasted a lot of raw material on that. So
that's a great story. I think I will store mine either in the filetine flat surface, or I will pre-gouge it down to somewhere like maybe 0.90 or something. Last question. Do you purchase separate cane for English horn or oboe d'amore, or do you just use the larger pieces, diameter cane that you find in your...
Yeah. Well, the English horn, I pretty much have to buy larger, but the span I have isn't big enough. I use more closer to like 11 and a half, I think, for English horn, in that kind of ballpark. I think that's correct. I haven't been an English horn read in a long time, so from gouged cane. But yeah, that tends to be outside the realm of the diameters that I have for oboe. Now for oboe d'amore, we probably could use some oboe d'amore cane from larger tubes of oboe cane.
Yeah, I use the same oboe gouge for d'amore, and I play oboe d'amore quite a lot. In the spring.
Do you use the same thickness, or do you thicken it slightly?
No, the same thickness. I use oboe cane, and I just shape it much.
I can see that working.
Wider.
I can see that working.
Yeah, but even for English horn cane, even with trying to find cane that's 11 and a half to 12 diameter, sometimes you can find those random stray pieces in our bags.
That's true. I know, that is very true.
Yeah. Well, that's all I have for you today, but thanks for hanging out with me and talking about cane.
Yeah, that's really cool. This is great. Well, we'll do it again.
Yes, we will. Okay, take care. Have a good day.
Because we're the oboe doctors. That's why I have to do it again. We're the oboe doctors.
Yes, we are. Okay, take care, Robin.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.